Hmm. Oh, boy, boy, boy. We are living in interesting times, and there's so much that's going on. And I'm actually on here because I've been having a conversation with a dear friend of mine. And we've pretty much been having a conversation all day. All day. All flipping day. And some of the things that we've shared, I kind of feel like we're preaching to the choir, like they say. And I often say sometimes you need to preach to the choir. Because the choir are like, oh yeah, we already know that stuff. So they fall asleep. So I wanted to share some of the things that I'm noticing. Hey Shirley. Hey Mole. Mole, Mule. Is it Mule or Mole? Probably Mule. And, you know, I do my podcast every week. And especially the last, well, I've always been talking about issues that affect humanity. Hey, dear sis, Carol, you've been on my mind. I've been meaning to text you. So there you are. So we've been talking about, on my podcast, we talk about everything that's going on in the world. And specifically, and you see that the description of this live is Dear White People and all the Candance Owens of the world. I feel so much. So this conversation is not necessarily new for me. And I also know that that's irrelevant. So anyway, so a friend of mine, I woke up this morning posting daily thoughts as I do. And as I was posting on Facebook, I came across a post by a friend who's going to join me on Tuesday, actually, on my podcast. And the post, oh, there it is, was what I call an imagination game. I'm not going to read all of it now. Maybe I'll read some on Tuesday. But I'll just read maybe, I don't know, I'll stop when I'm led to stop. And the post started, well, that's not how it started, but the main part of it is, imagine it's 2025. You're getting pulled over. A community representative approaches to let you know you have a tail light out. They don't need your license or registration. They don't write you a fix-it ticket. You're back on the road in less than 5 minutes. You swing by a store and grab a new light. Not because you're afraid of what the city will do to you, but because you respect your community and know that having all your lights working is part of the driving privilege. Your neighbors, this is another thing to imagine. Your neighbors got into a loud spat a few weeks ago, and without fear or hesitation, called a domestic assistant number. A counselor arrived and was able to talk the couples down and suggested solutions for their disagreement. No one was hurt. The kids participated in the discussion, and it's all been quite quiet ever since. There's more. The friend that I'm referring to, she's here, and if you feel led to share it, Jenny, you can put that in there. So two things is happening for me now. I want to talk about this and what's been coming up for me and what Jeannie and I have been talking about. And this is probably the first time that I've, if you want to say, spoken out without having a guest, because that can be a buffer sometimes. But this is me sharing my thoughts in a new way, a different way. Thank you, Jeannie. I'm sharing my thoughts in a way, the quiet thoughts that I have. And so part of that's making me emotional. So this post, Gina is going to share it. And all it is, it said, imagine. Just imagine. It's a game. And then the first person came, they made their comment and said, oh my gosh, my husband and I have been thinking that police have far too much responsibilities. Because the thing goes on to say, this is what defunding police officers, defund the police means. Now, if you're a police officer, if you know a police officer, if you have a family, just breathe. And if you can't handle it, you're free to leave. Breathe or leave. You got a choice, okay? So the first person said what they said. It's like, this is just what I meant. And somebody said we can only imagine, which, I don't know, that could mean so many different things. And then there's another person, the third person that added to it, gave this long ass story about, now imagine that, I'm not going to read everything really. Now imagine that the domestic call turns out to be a husband that has bitten the shit out of his wife and kids, and has to, and what is it? And I guess, typo, has threatened to do the same to anyone else who tries to intervene. So she goes on that kind of binge. And the post, which was really supposed to be, just imagine, has now turned into people talking about, oh goodness, you see it. Not even gonna I may talk about this on my podcast on Tuesday. But my thing is, dear white people, if you cannot shut the flip up and listen, now I know I need to clarify this. If you're white and you're listening and you're doing your work, you're part of the anti-racist movement, I'm not talking to you. If you don't know me, I don't know you, but you happen to be listening and you know you're doing your work, I am not talking to you. Just listen. But the ones who want to continuously defend not just an injustice, dehumanizing, lynching, murder, brutality, oppression, injustice, inequality. What the flip is going on in your head? And I mean that genuinely. I want to know what's going on in your head. There's so many comments here where it was just a game of imagination. Imagine. And people talking about we need police officers and blah, 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 blah. And trying to prove that because one of them said she's worked in the police department and just made comments that think, wait a minute, just back the flip up. See, I don't have a problem swearing, okay? But I want you to stay with me, okay? I know that's right. Showing us white violence. I know that the reason people will come and try and defend police officers, which they don't need defense, they don't need to be defended. Why? Just like any institution, there are people who are drunk with power, whatever that is. And it's not even about color in this context. So this whole idea, not just on the post or on the news and the bullshit that people are spewing saying police officers feels demonized. I want to say two things to that, maybe more. One, I understand. I remember someone saying, a good friend of mine, we were having a conversation. And she had this judgment about life coaches. And I was like, excuse me? And she said, no, not you. But all these people who you see them 1 week, they're doing one thing, next week they're a life coach. And you look at their lives and, there's a part of me that felt like, okay, good. I'm not included in that conversation. But there was still a part of me that was triggered by what she saw as people that were just popping up out of nowhere being a life coach. So I understand when you're part of a community when you're part of a culture, when people talk about the Africans, not even Nigerians, South Africans, Zimbabweans, Ugandans, they say Africans, I get triggered. It's like, Africa is not a country. Because my heritage is African, and I know how that continent has been demonized. I feel triggered when people are talking about the country or my people. And even though I talk about my people, okay? So of course there are police officers who are feeling picked on. So here's one thing you need to think about, dear white people. Some of the things that police officers are feeling right now, your fellow citizens have been feeling it for all their lives. They've been feeling picked on. Black people, people of color, they've been feeling picked on, demonized, hated, oppressed, feeling unjustly profiled. While you have blinders because that's the world that's been created for you. White supremacy is a thing. It is such a thing that we are conditioned to not even talk about it. It's such a thing that is invisible. Like air. Air is everywhere. We don't go out and say, I wonder if there's air today. Because it's just there. We expect it to be there. White supremacy has become so natural, acceptable, that the only ones who are saying, ouch, ouch, are the one being unjustly treated by it. If you have to come up with stats about, oh my God, if you have to say that people are talking about police brutality, but it's not as bad as people are making it, I have a question for you. And, my work and when I communicate, I go for the middle. And I don't go to come from a place of middle just for the sake of, because I want the people that I think won't hear me to be able to hear me. And if I am talking on behalf of somebody as a black man, born in the United Kingdom with a Nigerian heritage, and feel more at home in America, I'm also bringing my experience to the table. And I don't want to say I do my best, but that's the best way I can put it. I do my best not to throw anyone under the bus, but I am happy to say what is true for me. If you have to say police brutality is taken out of proportion, is not as bad as it is, I honestly have a question for you, dear white people. Where is your heart? I know that's harsh, but I know you have it. But I want to know what your heart is tuned into. Because the only way any human being would come up with bullshit like it's not as bad as they're making it, and there's only few bad police officers. Policing, that institution, is a branch, is one of many branches of a tree called white supremacy. So all this, well, there are few bad police officers. Oh, okay. All right. But it's not just about one or two, your few police officers. This is about a system of oppression that is written into law. If George Floyd, now I won't say it like that because people will take it out of context. If we saw a police officer kneeling on a dog and a dog was yelping and it died, I don't need to say anything else, I know. One thing I am going to say, maybe more, because I ain't done. White people, dear white people, you will be outraged. You will be outraged. Now let's flip that. If it was a white police officer with his knee on a white man, you will be just as outraged. If it was a white police officer with his knee on a white woman, oh, that'll be World War III. Now, if it was a black man with his knee on a dog, if it was a black man, a black police officer with his knee on a white man or on a white woman, you will have a different conversation. So for me, as I stand, and I'm open to hearing something different. I don't know what you can tell me, but I'm open to hearing something different. The only reason any human being can come out with bullshit and say either we don't know what happened before the camera started rolling, where he was using drugs, and all the bullshit that people put out there about a man being lynched while we looked for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. The only reason anybody would try and deny that or try and throw something else into the equation is because you don't want to see. You don't want to see, and you're afraid that if you do see it, you won't be able to handle it. And I understand. So the fact that you don't want to see should give you some insight that if you have the privilege to not see it, to not look, to come up with other analogies, is either you believe, well, those people that are mistreated deserve to be treated like that, or it's just too painful for you to fathom. For most black people, and when I say black, I'm talking about African Americans, I'm talking about black people in UK, indigenous people, and people of color, particularly black people. Let me just stay with that. Seeing another man being murdered, being lynched, poked a massive branch, let's talk about this tree, into the wound of white supremacy, of racism that's happened in centuries, not even that long. It's like you poked a finger. Black people in this country, it's more obvious in America because there's a lot of stats. In this country, things are a little bit more quieter. Like, no, don't bring that up. Nothing like that happens over here, UK. But black people have been lynched by white people, and they gather and watch another human being hang. The only way any human being can watch that and go home and get on with their life is because you believe the person that was hung is not like you, is not human, they deserve it. You know, people talk about, all people talk about, well, white people saw black people as, what is it, 1/3 of a human being or something like that? I think it's 1/3. I can't remember exactly. Correct me if you need to. But they didn't see black people as being human. You're just 1/3 of a human being. And you know that 1/3 wasn't like they saw 1/3 as a human being. No, they came up with a number in order for the slave owners to be able to count the enslaved Africans as property. So nothing to be able to claim them, to get their votes, they said, well, they're not human, but we need them to be able to get more votes. So they made them sort of like 1/3 of a human being. Go somewhere with your statistics about why police brutality is not as bad as they're making it. And I'm so grateful that this post, it talks about imagine. And as I said, I made a comment on there. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And all of us, we are responding to an impulse. Change is happening. Transformation is happening. And we are all feeling it. COVID-19 was the invitation to say, y'all sit your butts down because this shit's going to be real now. We're responding to an impulse. The lynching, the murdering, the lynching of George Floyd was a catalyst for something that's always been there. And for every video that we see of police brutality, there's so many that doesn't make it to the public domain. Chances are there's so many happening right now. So police officers feeling demonized over here in UK, there's a journalist, Afua Hirsch. I think I'm pronouncing her last name. It's Hirsch, I think it is. I actually have a book. Hey, my brother Kevin, nice to see you. Afua is another journalist that is committed to showing the fullness of history. People say, well, the statues, those people, those slave owners and whatever, the Confederate flag or whatever it is, even here, people are tearing down the statue. They're saying, well, it represents our history. I get that. I really do get it. But then if it represents your history, then the truth needs to be told of what they did, what they represented, as well as statues of people who fought against and who won't stand for the BS. Dear white people, if you're going to say that represents your history, the history of UK, the history of America is not just your history. Tell the whole truth. Stop putting up some more statue. It's easy to celebrate your statue because white supremacy says white is pure. White is the norm. Everything else is less than. So of course you're not going to validate other people's history. If what was happening was flipped and it was white women that were being murdered, we won't be having this conversation. And I will also tell the truth that there will be some black people, indigenous people, people of color, BIPOC, yes, who might be tempted to say now they know how we feel. Which that I won't even support either. It's like, I understand that America is changing, but it's a me country. So we think, no, white people, because I'm being specific for a reason. White people think if me and my family are fine, that I don't have to worry about them. You fail to see how connected we are. You fail to look One of the things I've been telling some of my friends is what is happening as a transformation, is a healing that's happening for all of humanity. And America seems to be on stage. So like a concert. When you go to a concert, you have the artists doing their song and people in the crowd dancing along with the artists, singing along, everybody having a good time. Well, right now, most of us are not having a good time. And the thing is, what's interesting about communicating, sharing is no matter how passionate you feel about what you're sharing, no matter how passionate I feel about what I'm saying, the people I really believe need to hear this ain't going to be listening to me. The people who going to listen to me are people that agree with me. But here's the invitation for white people and black people. Are you willing to sit in a conversation where you're triggered and listen? Doesn't mean you're going to agree, but listen to see where someone is coming from. It's all about self-awareness. It's not for everybody. Everybody can't do this work. And what I mean by everybody can't do this work, because I'm not saying, only few people like me. That's not what I'm saying. We all have a role to play in this transformation that is happening. And if you believe in love and light, and there are folks, white people, who are on this spiritual path, metaphysical path, that believe, well, we're all one. Why is this always happening? It doesn't have to be about race. I remember somebody who I consider to be a good friend, I think it was 2018. And it was an article by another friend that I posted. And the article said why black people need their own space to have a conversation. And she talking about, why does it have to be about race? Oh, it would have been easy to jump on her if she wasn't my friend. That's what love does. But my heart was broken, like, you too? And you in my community, you feel this? And I had to have a conversation with her. We did. And in the conversation, it was very obvious that it's an uncomfortable topic for her. And then she shared her experience where she's been discriminated against. And I drew the parallel. And then she had a different way of listening. Ultimately, the healing is happening. So I'm grateful for that. I know people who are doing the work. I'm doing my work. And I want to see some of the comments here. That's weird. Oh, okay. Let's see. Sometimes I even try and avoid having this conversation in a one-on-one like this because I feel like I might get so triggered. So Kim said, I've had white people say that, I didn't think that had anything to do with me. That person, wait a minute. Okay, I won't say that. I won't read that part out. So let's move color out of the way. Well, not even color, but we can, Let's move this, what we call black and white, because nobody is white or black. That's a whole nother conversation. Or brown, or you're the lighter expression of brown. Okay? What? How can you justify the injustice against another human being? What is in your mindset? If you can justify it, and not to say, actually, no, I'm not even going to go there. There are people who support death penalty in America and will come right back and say the Bible said we should not take people's lives. I'm a Christian, I believe in God, or whatever the case may be, yet you're teaching people that it's against God, it's a sin to commit murder by murdering somebody else. How do you make space in your mind? How? I don't get it. I don't understand it. The only reason we justify anything is because we're trying to protect ourselves. Because the greatest gift you can give another human being is listening to them, being with them, and recognizing their pain. And if you cannot identify because you've othered yourself from them or from their pain, we all other one another. It's more than this construct of racism, of race. We're other family members. We other neighbors. We are other somebody who's not part of our religion. We other each other for being spiritual and religious and living in the north of America and the south, for being English or Irish or Nigerian or Ghanaian or being Pakistani or Indian. We other each other, and even within our own culture. So this othering thing, it ain't nothing new. That's the real deal. But if you cannot feel the pain of another because you've othered, in order to feel someone's pain, you have to feel a sense of connection. Because feeling their pain doesn't mean you have to feel guilty, even though we do that too. The conversation is happening in the UK where people are highlighting the history of this country. And I see some things on Twitter and a white man saying, well, you're just trying to make us feel guilty and be ashamed. Ain't nobody trying to make you feel guilty. You fucking doing that. And feeling guilty and feeling shame is part of the process. It's part of the process. It's part of the human condition. So if you can't feel another's pain, maybe it's an opportunity to just listen. Maybe it's not the time to start, even if you know that you have the answer. And you might have the answer. You might have the answer to what they're dealing with, but they don't see it because they're viewing their world based on their own experience. Sometimes you just need to shut the flip up and be a beneficial presence, be a healer, be a comforter, be an agent of love. And when people are grieving, when people are suffering, when people are feeling pain, if you can't do any of that, get the flip out of here. Just go do something else. Go stroke a dog. Go fight for the planet. At this rate, we're trying to save the planet. If we keep this, it can't, it won't, because things are shifting. But let's just say there isn't an impulse that is happening that's beyond what we are able to stop. If we just paint this picture that, it's really up to us to save the planet, but we're not trying to save the people on it, you will have a planet and be nobody on it. Then what would be it for? Oh, well, we all died. There was brutality, there was racism, and I had a good life because I'm white, but the planet is alive. And I'm not saying those things are not important. What I'm saying is, check yourself before you wreck yourself. We've seen too many videos of a white woman calling police officers. Talking about, I'm being attacked by, what they call them, Karen, by African American. And saying I didn't mean to cause no pain. Oh my God. If you meant to cause pain, I don't even want to see it. Talk about weaponizing someone. I don't know. I can't go to the top of this, my comments. Yeah. You justify another human being being brutalized. I don't know what's happening. Oh, my comments are disappearing. I'm not going to say that I'm powerful enough to be blocked. Even though I've been noticing some stuff, but I'm not going to go down that path. Let me see if I open another browser. I want to read some of the comments here, which probably would just give me more to say. I wasn't even trying to play. I wasn't planning to do this Facebook Live, but in my conversation that I was having with my friend, it's like it came up, and I said, "Okay, let's see." Wow. Okay. Yeah, Candance Owens. I don't understand Candance Owens. I don't understand. I saw a video of her. If you don't know Candance Owens, Google her. No, I know you. Oh, okay. You didn't block me. I know you didn't block me. And to say, well, she's decided to put the economy above social issues. Why can't we do both? Why can't we do both? And for those who are saying, you need more than light and love, there's a judgment coming. You need more than light and love in this society. You ain't got a clue what you're talking about. You have no idea what love is. You have no idea when people, well, I won't say when people, because people throw that thing around. But when you really think of what it means to be one with the light, to be aligned with love, one, you speak the truth, and you speak the truth without no, I won't even say alienating, without, what's the word? Without demonizing another. And yes, I'll say it. This is what I'm doing. I stand by it. I'm not demonizing people. I mean, people are going to feel demonized. I get that. But you know what? I can't go up to this. Let me see. Let me go here. I can't on my browser. Akima said, I don't get that Candance. I don't get her. I don't get her. Oh, great. Okay, I can see it on my phone, but y'all been commenting. All right, let me just scroll real quick. How could you look? I guess you can look. I mean, I know the answer, but I really want to know your answer. I saw a video yesterday that was posted by Kevin. Kevin was on my podcast, and he was in Clayton County in Atlanta, Georgia. And 4 young teenagers, black boys, and the police officer had his gun pulled because they were hanging around and they were shadow boxing, and you can hear the trauma in the woman that was recording it and other people. Don't you, dear white people, black people are feeling traumatized right now. Whether you believe that is just or unjust or they shouldn't be, people are feeling traumatized. I pray you don't get the wrath of somebody when they pop. I saw that video and it was just hard to watch. It's like, really? I don't know why I can't. Okay, let me see here. Thank you, Jenny, for posting that. Shoyinka said, historical white violence to the present time. Indeed. She said, Shoyinka said, let's not call it white supremacy and continue to give it power. Let's call it what it is, white violence. Yeah, I think that's the other thing. It's this either or. White supremacy as an ideology leads to white violence. It can be both and, really. White supremacy is a tree, and there are lots of branches and fruits that come from it. So much so that people will be willing to put property over people. Like, yeah, he died. Yeah, but... okay. Boy. Kim, I like how you write people. Okay, I think I want to read this. Kim said, white people respond to our experience based on the experiences they have with the police. Yeah. They fail to acknowledge that white people and black people have vastly different experiences with the police. Say Seymour. Where is it? How many white people witness white people being treated the way we are being treated by police? Just sit with that. Yeah, I'll respond to some of this if I can go. Well, I guess I'll do it on my phone. Many of you here will probably know Jane Elliott, and she's one of those powerful teachers. There are many brown people teaching the same thing. And when I say brown, I'm talking about African Americans, black people. Like I said, I'm on a one-man movement. There ain't no black people. There ain't no white people. I may be at the high end of the brown side. I get that. But I still ain't black. My eyebrows are black. Which is easy for you to be afraid of being black. Because when you associate black to evil, thank God to religion. Jane Elliott. And the video is on YouTube. Maybe most of you here have seen it before. And where she was with she's a white woman. She's a lighter expression woman. And she was in a class full of mostly white youth. And she asked them if any of you would be willing to swap places with African Americans with the way they're being treated. Stand up. And she said, you guys don't hear me. She asked the same question again. And none of those white people stood up. I know some of you have seen it, so you already know. I might share it in there. And she told them that the reason they didn't stand up, because they know how bad African Americans are being treated. It's self-evident. Because let's keep it simple. If a bunch of young white kids are sitting in a room and they have a lecturer, a facilitator saying, how many people would like to swap your life with a billionaire, with a millionaire for a day, for a week, for a month? Is anybody going to sit down talking about, not I, said this cat? Of course they're going to get up. I'm complete. It's good to see some people I haven't seen in a while. Hey, Polly, nice to see you. I saw Tiffany earlier. There's more. Let me just scroll up. Maybe I'll share something. Arts of Empowerment is sneaking, is looking. Akima said, oh my God, what happened? What I do? Miss Ade, what I do? Kim said, if you see, then you're obligated to act. Most white people don't know what to do as they refuse to see. Yep, because seeing is too much. That's a good point, Kim. I thought I was done. I'm done-ish. And now I'm going to broaden this a little bit. For all of us, we refuse to see some things sometimes because by acknowledging it means it's going to change our world. Brown people and pale people or light of expression people can say, we all know of somebody being sexually abused, a drug addict that nobody wanted to talk about in the family. Because it breaks something in you. Yeah, I like what Brian said. Brian said widespread policing in the U.S. is an institutionalized system set up as slave patrol. Indeed, it is a system flawed by its inceptions. Indeed. So this whole thing is more than just police brutality, and it needs to be addressed. But like I said, it's one of the branches of a tree called white supremacy that leads to white violence. And I gotta say this, and I think I'm done after this, I promise. Because it's the things that I haven't really, I've been sort of more in the listening, having a dialogue with people on my podcast, and I'm not giving excuses. I want to do this, and I stand by everything I said. This misnomer of black on black crime, all of us need to stop saying that, stop repeating that bullshit. Because it doesn't mean anything, as if white people don't kill each other. And it's all part of that systematic, oppressive mindset, if that makes sense. But you know what I mean, if you're feeling me. To coin a phrase, black on black, as if, it's a unique thing that happens with black people. If people are living in a neighborhood, and it's mostly black people, and they get angry, get in a fight, who are they killing? When white men, young white teenagers go shoot up a school or bar, do we say white on white? Stop that foolishness. Stop it. We need to stop saying that. And for me, I really feel like the reason, because people say, well, black people are killing one another, which is what triggered the black on black. I get that. And people are killing each other. We live in a violent world. And whatever you believe, particularly those of my spiritual community, if you are not translating what you know spiritually into action, I don't even know how to describe it. You're just playing around. You're just playing around. Because spirituality really doesn't mean much until it becomes a way of life. And when you practice it, it empowers you to speak the truth and not getting caught up and be able to call it as it is and taking the action that you are led to do, action that you're led to take. The inspiration is coming up for you. But if your words are just platitudes of how we're one, we're one? Do you understand? We are one? We are one? If we understand what that statement means, it's going to call for you to strip down some of the beliefs about yourself and have you go back to your parents and apologize. Apologize to yourself. Love will strip you naked. That before you get to reintroduce yourself to yourself, you won't even know who you are. When you're being led to do things that you know, you're clear that you're being led from inside your spirit, your guide, your angels, whatever. Your ancestors are guiding you to do it. But you're feeling like, oh shit. But you know you got to speak this truth. That's love. So when people say, well, love is not enough, you ain't know nothing about love. And no, I'm not even trying to tell you that I've mastered it. Because I'm going to have to pull on love after I end this live. Because there might be some thoughts coming up like, ooh, you shouldn't have done that. Maybe. And I have to pull on love to be able to stand. And as I said, I stand on everything that I shared. If you're pissed off, so be it. The beauty of this thing is, in American people speak up about it. Oh, I was going to say something about F word earlier, and I went on another tangent. In UK, people, just be quiet. Now, what I was going to say about F word, who is the author of British. So you think of the word British. So her mom is Ghanaian, and I think her father is maybe German or something like that. So she split that word Brit, because you said the Brit, ish, like, I think I am Brit. And her book is about belonging. And when I was reading, it's like, I can so identify. And there is a video of her on Twitter, on social media. And she was talking about some of the atrocities of UK. Things have done in the past. She had a white man on a panel. Well, she's on a panel with them. A white lady and I don't know if the guy is Indian or Pakistani, but Asian. And when she did her monologue and then came to the panel to discuss what she just said, The white guy looked and said, Efwa, if you don't like this country, why don't you leave? I'm not a boxer, but I was tempted to learn some boxing. I wanted to put my hands through the phone. It's not even audacity. I want to say the audacity of a white person, of a white man, to say that to another woman who was born here, who's just as British, as English as you. Why is it when black people talk about the issue they're dealing with in America or here, they say, if you don't like it here, why don't you leave? The audacity, but I need another word. The nerve of you. Jesus. Jesus, help me. I'm done for now. And if those of you that are listening, that have stayed with me, thank you very much. Those of you that added your comments, and Jeannie said being pissed off is good right now. Yeah, be pissed off. Have your anger. Have your rage. But as you have your anger, be led by love. So you can have it in a way, have it in a way, whatever way you want to have it. I'm not telling you how to. Just have you experience what I'm saying. There are people who are traumatized. My request, right? If those of you that are listening to this and you have white friends, oh, love it, love it. Okay, so I have two requests. I'm laughing for many reasons, but I'm going to say this. If you ever post something, or if you ever have a conversation with another white person, or you facilitate a group and there's white people in there, and they said something that that felt like they're not trying to address the issue, but they're trying to divert the conversation, and other people jumped on them, don't you ever apologize for other people jumping on them. Because we all get to be responsible and accountable for our mindset, our behavior, our attitude, our point of view. So even what I'm saying, I'm sure people will find holes in it. Maybe if some of you that even like me, love me, might be like, yeah, we know what he mean. When you love somebody, when you like somebody, they can get away with some shit. You'll be like, I don't really mean that. I know his heart. I know her heart. But when you don't, there's no room for compassion. Like, what? You said what? So do not ever apologize for people bringing their BS. And people in the room, whether the room is virtual or physical, don't apologize for that. People need to be responsible. We need to grow the flip up. I'm beyond hopeful because I know healing is happening, and healing can sometimes be messy. And the other request, those of you that are listening, that have white friends, that don't quite understand. I don't understand why you always have to make everything about race. Aren't we all Americans? I'm not doing an impression of no one, but that's the best voice. Please invite them to my podcast on Tuesday. I know it seems like a promotion, but not. I have a lighter expression brother, white brother, joining me. And he's going to be talking about a service that is offering to, actually, let me just pull him up. And I think I can post it in here on my laptop. We all have a responsibility in healing humanity. And however you feel to do that, it's time to do it. Because I promise you, I promise you, whatever's in your heart to do and you don't do it, whatever that is, you don't do it, you just might regret not living your life to the fullest. I might be wrong, but I stand by it. Okay, so Peter is having a conversation. He calls it intimate and confused by all this race stuff. take me up on an unpacking privilege conversation. So this is a conversation he's having with white people, pale, lighter expression people. I'm using pale. I learned that from Jane Elliott. And I'm going to post this here if I can. I'm going to figure out another way of doing it. I'll do it after I finish. Oh, here we go, I think. Yeah, I'm going to post it in there. So he's going to be joining me to talk about what he's doing to educate white people about the truth of injustice. There are some people, couple of people that, what's that? No, that's not where I want to put it. There's some people that I know who are children. Now they're adults, but they're children. Their parents were part of the Black Panther, which literally they came together to protect the Black community. And their children are alive now. They can tell you stories of how their parents and family members were imprisoned unjustly, brutalized, mistreated, falsely accused. Okay, I'm putting that link in here. Hopefully it will show up. I don't know. We'll see. There's so many things. All right, I'm going to be quiet now. I'm going to be with myself. And I thank you all for being here. And what I would say to my Black folks, it's like, yeah, it's tough. It's challenging. My experience is different. I was born in UK, grew up in Nigeria. For first 4 years of my life was in UK. And then I grew up in Nigeria where I was surrounded by people that look like me. We saw white people, but when we see white people, say, Oyinbo, which means white people. We have a song that we even do. You're just like, oh my God, look at that. And when I think of white supremacy, or to use Soyinka's expression, white violence in America, and the idea that slavery is over, it ain't over. But they do. They imprison African Americans and then use them because the 13th Amendment said, unless they're imprisoned. Go watch it. 13? The documentary by Ava DuVernay. Go watch it. But anyway, Black people. The difference between Black people here, generally, in UK and America, the United States, is here, most of us, first, second generation, maybe even third, still have a connection to other countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, India, Pakistani, other places, Pakistan, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago. So even though people are experiencing racism in UK, they still get to go back to their roots, their culture. So there's a sort of strength that comes knowing that when you go home, you're going to eat your food from your country. It's not even intellectual. It's in the cells. You're going to communicate with your mother, your grandmother. You're going to speak your language that reminds you that my mother used to say, which I used to, well, really, if you say it in Yoruba mean, well, I'll say it. Rántí ọmọ ẹni tí wọ́n ń ṣe, which means remember the child of who you are. That's if I translate it literally. But really what it means is remember who you are. When my mother used to tell me, Rántí ọmọ ẹni tí wọ́n ń ṣe, Adé, Joe, ọkọ mi, which is please, my son. Ọkọ can also, anyway, I'm not giving you a Yoruba lesson. It's like, my beloved, please remember who you are. I didn't quite get it. When she would always tell me that. And it was actually talking to my sister that I realized, yes, Mom was always telling me, remember who you are. So for Black people in UK that experience, and people of color that experience racism, they still are connected to something that's more than UK. So energetically, from a cell level, don't feel displaced. In America, it's a different conversation. You can go back to first, second, third, fourth generation, and great-great-grandmother grew up in North Carolina or something. I mean, 400 years, more than 400 years of abuse. I don't know how I got in that conversation, but I got to end this. I'm done. I'm going to continue on Tuesday. So, that's it. So, my brothers, wherever we are in the world, we got to take care of our own hearts, of our own soul. We got to do our own work. Because no matter how much we try to point out to white people the issue of white supremacy, white violence, if they're not willing to see it, they won't see it. It's like I would say a husband that's abusing the wife. I just use that in context and it goes in all directions. So stay with me. If a husband is not willing to see the damage, the trauma that is causing by abusing his wife, his girlfriend, his children, they just ain't gonna get it until they're ready, if they're ever gonna be ready. So we gotta do our own work. And on some level, and this could be kind of controversial, we need to unconsciously and consciously stop asking white people for permission to be human. And at the same time, we're holding white people and people in power to be accountable. But the good news is there is an impulse that humanity is responding to. So this is the impulse. Something is shifting. Something is happening. So you either have to get in alignment with the impulse and you will know what is yours to do, or you're going to resist it. And it's like standing on a ground, I guess, that's splitting wide open, but you're not taking sides and you're like, oh my God. You're going to have to jump on one side or you're going to get swallowed up. There is an impulse. There's a healing. There's a transformation happening. So we all have to decide which side we want to be on. Let your spirit be your guide. I'm done. Thank you for listening. Thank you for indulging me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your comments. Whether you disagree with me, thank you for disagreeing, because we're talking about inner authority. You don't have to agree with me. This is my opinion. This is my thought. And I'm so glad I don't work for any corporations or anybody that have to be worried about being fired. Oh, thank you, Jesus. And I commend those who work for a corporation that may end up getting fired because they express their opinion. And for me, that is a privilege to even be able to get on Facebook and say these things that I'm saying. I don't take that lightly. And I recognize my platform too. And I'm going to wear it out because this is what I came here to do. Is that Sebastian said, may your heart be your guiding key. Because I am a nerd. What do you mean by I'm a nerd? What are you saying? You saying I know you're not talking about, I'm going to wear it out, Jeannie. Are you saying you don't know how to let your heart lead you? Is that what you're saying? Tell me. Don't stop me up, but tell me. Wow. Y'all been communicating over here. I don't know if I scroll down, but on the desktop, I can only see 4 comments at a time. So what do you mean that, because I'm a nerd, what do you mean that you don't know how to, tell me, Sebastian? I know there's a few delays, so I'll wait. Because if you mean I'm a nerd and I don't know how to let my heart guide me, I'm happy to give you another way to do that. It's from Kingdom Heart. Oh, okay. So that's something that I haven't seen. I'm assuming that's some kind of series or something. Let me see. Don't let me sound like, well, I don't care if I sound like an idiot. Kingdom Heart. Yeah. So it's a video game, is it? It looks like it's a video game. Oh, because you said you're a nerd. It's got to be a video game. Yeah. I don't know nothing about that. Oh, I love you. I love you. I bless you. I appreciate you. And I thank God for you. This is challenging times. Take care of your heart. When you take care of your heart, I had extra sleep. I went to bed last night around 10 p.m. or something. Woke up at 7, meditated, and took another nap. So take care of your heart. Take a nap. Rest. Do your spiritual practice. Drink water. Oops. I'm out. I'm going to get some. Do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. Because we're living in some challenging times. One thing I can use right now is a massage. And yet, we don't want to let that stop us. Because you can call on the invisible masseuse. You can call on them to massage. And that's what I'm doing. Calling on them right now. Okay, I got to go. I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. For doing whatever you're doing in the world. For showing up. Being an example of truth. Of what love looks like. Being an example of what peace looks like. Being an example of what joy looks like. And it's action. It's action. Thank you.